Alright, well, welcome back. We're looking at blade reviews. Today we have the Devil's Edge butterfly knives, Chinese butterfly knives. So, we have two equal length knives here. They've got very large brass guards here. We'll take a look at some specs on these, up close looks in the sheath and out of the sheath, and then we'll go ahead and do some cut testing on the tatami with these. My overall length is 17 1/2 inches, and then the blade itself is 12 1/8 inch. We'll see that we have some steel taken out of it to reduce excess weight. That's obviously on both of these. It's 2 pounds, 2.7 ounces. I think I said 2 pounds, 17 ounces, which doesn't make any sense. But it's 2 pounds, 2.7 ounces per knife. So these are considered to be knives because they're about the size of a Bowie knife. High carbon steel as Devil's Edge. This is an in-house company, so this is a Kult of Athena original company. We don't manufacture them here, but we have them made, and then they come in, but the brand itself is owned by Kult of Athena. So a lot of different ways you can play with double knife. The Kali way of it is obviously having these move as two independent weapons that complement each other. That's how I know how to move with them, so that's how I am familiar with them. Handles on this one, so we'll look at the back of it is flat. We have that brass. It's completely flat. Hand is protected on the thumb side with that really big guard. And handles are solid. Got a wood handle, it's pinned, and I believe the pins go right into the piece of brass here. This is like one giant piece of brass. So like if you were using this like single, you could use this for like different punching motions, or if you're using these for like different higher up cuts into thrusts and things like that. So a lot of things you can do with them, depends on what you want. And they are flush with each other because these go into one single sheath. So if we see it from this side, it just looks like a giant knife. And they're relatively flush until you realize that there's two of them. Kind of like a little magic trick there. You go over to the sheath. So this one is obviously double wide. It's double thick. It's just a regular stitch sheath. It's got a belt loop, and I'm going to put the belt loop on in a second. But when you're sheathing these, just be very cognizant you're doing with two weapons. And you'll see that they fit nice and snug in here. And you can draw a single one because there's two separate pouches. So I'm actually going to take these out really quick so you can see it's basically two sheaths just sandwiched together. So they have their own slot. So there's two slots in here. There's one for the top one and then one for the bottom one with a piece of leather between. So the blades are not like touching. So you can, I'm going to slide these back in before I do it. You can draw the top one just as a single and leave the opposite one in the sheath. Alright, so I got them out of this sheath right now. I have the sheath on my belt. You can see it's literally just a belt loop. Just a regular belt loop. And if we're putting these back in very mindfully, very carefully, I'm going to go with the outer one first. And then with the one inside. It's pretty heavy, so you're looking at like, it's 2 pounds, 2.7 ounces. You're looking at close to 5 pounds on your hip if you were gonna carry these. I don't really see that happening, but if you were to want to try it on, you obviously want to know what it's gonna feel like. So it's right on my hip, as we can see. You can walk with it. I do feel it tugging on my belt, even though I wear my pants where they're supposed to, but it doesn't really matter. The snap comes off, and again, I can draw just a single one, and then you can draw the other one as well if you're looking at drawing on that. But other than that, the actual sheath keeps them, you know, nice and snug. Again, they are pretty much dead on with the manufacturing of these. So what I want to do now is do some up-close looks in the sheath and out of the sheath with these two Chinese butterfly knives from Devil's Edge, and then we'll go to some cut testing. I would not recommend, I do it one time in the cut testing, of going with a double cut. There's specific rules when it comes to handling double weapons that I'm not going to really cover in here because it's a blade review. But I would recommend, unless you have proper training and you have a lot of experience with real weaponry, I would recommend not going with any type of double cuts if you don't know the rules and the principles that go along with wielding two knives or even two swords. All right, with that said, let's go to the up close looks. See that entire piece of brass. It's one single piece of brass. And then the wood handle, it's kind of sandwiched on there with 3 pins. This is the majority of the weight, to be honest with you, is this giant handguard. And I'm just doing this in this weird grip, that way you can see how thick it is. Then we'll look at the actual guard itself. Covers the thumb side. More of a mirror polish, easy to clean, this being more of a price point item. So that's technically the right hand, because that's where the brass is, so it tells you which one it is. I'm going to set this down, and because you want to see it, here is the left one. So the wood is on the other side. See, obviously that the wood is on the outside of it, so technically this would be for the left hand. But they are pretty cool looking. You can see a big old handguard and knuckle lining. This is what it looks like in the scabbard, or in the sheath rather. You see that's double wide. You'll see the separation there. And they can come out together, or they can come out one at a time. Back of it, pretty simple. First off, these are really sharp. So they're a heavier, pretty heavy for a single knife, to be honest with you. It's like 2 pounds, 17 ounces, something like that. But over 2 pounds, the brass guard is a lot of the weight. The actual spine of the blade, it's just a regular, think like a Bowie knife, but just designed to be a Chinese butterfly sword. I'm gonna set this down. And we'll see that it did a significant amount of damage on the tatami. So we cut with a little bit of everything, diagonals, horizontals, verticals. We'll see that it also unraveled it. Split it up pretty well. The factory edges on Devil's Edge stuff are always really sharp. They're not hair shaving sharp, but they're functionally sharp, meaning that they will cut through tatamis and soft targets that are relative to what you would do for cut testing. So these did really well. Handle's solid. Hand didn't move at all, even though it's brass. I could see concern about your hand getting sweaty, but the back of it is completely flat. Let me give you a better angle of that. The back of it is flat, so you don't have to really worry about, you know, your hand moving around with these. Alright, so thanks for joining me for this video. Devil's Edge Chinese butterfly knives. Took some specs on this, some up close looks in the sheath, out of the sheath, and we did some cut testing with this one. Subscribe to the channel, like this video. Let me know if you want to see more Devil's Edge products that we have here at cultofathena.com, and I'll talk to you soon.